The Big Picture, a Christian insight on the world of film, television and popular culture, with magazine editor Ben McEachen and scriptwriter Mark Hadley. 3D glasses on, amps to 11, screens to maximum. Get ready for The Big Picture.
Deadpool. Deadpool? Who is Deadpool? If you're not a Marvel comic fan, you can be forgiven for not knowing who Deadpool is, but Deadpool has long been celebrated by many comic lovers as the ultimate anti-hero. Thing is though, when Mark went to see Deadpool's own movie, he discovered there's much more traditional hero under the surface if you choose to peel back his blood-soaked mask.
I love you, Wade Wilson. We can fight this.
You're right. The cancer's only my liver, lungs, prostate, and brain. All things I can live without.
What if I told you we can make you better? You're a fighter. We can give you abilities most men only dream of. Make you a superhero.
You just promise you'll do right by me, so I can do right by someone else. And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
Based on Marvel Comics' most unconventional anti-hero, Deadpool tells the origin story of former Special Forces operative turned merc, or mercenary for those who don't know the lingo.
Who knows the lingo?
Wade Wilson, who after being subjected to a rogue experiment that leaves him with accelerated healing powers, adopts his alter ego, Deadpool. Armed with his new abilities and a dark, twisted sense of humour, Deadpool hunts down the man who nearly destroyed his life. Well, look, Deadpool's played by Ryan Reynolds, who had his, horrible first superhero outing with Green Lantern.
Oh, that's a movie we should never speak of again.
In fact, actually, that'll be the last time until when I finally mention it a little later in the show. He does an excellent job as the lewd, acid-tongued, irreverent, basically psychotic superhero. That's right. This is very true to the comic. So be warned, okay? Deadpool is risque, to say the least, okay? He's a character who is not afraid of saying exactly what he's thinking, and sometimes the things he's thinking, he probably shouldn't be thinking. So it is a brilliant story, though, strangely, because Reynolds lives up to probably being the happiest exchange with the Green Lantern that he's ever had. The film is violent, but never pointlessly so. It's irreverent, but it laughs at itself as much as anything else. The wit is sharp and as deadly as Deadpool's twin katanas.
Wow, so you're giving us a lot of warnings, but you're also suggesting it's watchable at the same time.
Yeah, this is one of those...
But approach with caution, I'm taking it.
I know, this is one of those cases where, look, I didn't know what to think, because honestly, I found it incredibly entertaining. At the same time, there's a lot in it where you just go, oh, yikes, please
Pretty big challenge as a viewer.
I know. Yeah, so it's challenging. It's one of those cases where it's kind of like The Hateful Eight. Okay, there's a lot in it that you've got to be very cautious of to take anybody to, or in fact to go and see yourself. It's certainly no Captain America. Okay, that's for sure. The language is not sickening, but very street level. The violence is cartoonish, but it's kind of graphic at places. The character is lewd and tormented, but that's kind of part of the storyline, and that's who he is.
So if your kids, and especially your younger kids, have been lining up to see a lot of the other Marvel films, everything from Guardians of the Galaxy to Thor to Iron Man, Avengers, Captain America, as you just mentioned. Yeah. Are you suggesting they...
Scoot them out of the line and take them to Brooklyn.
Yeah. They'll love it. Okay, look, 1950s story of love triangles.
I think a mature viewer wouldn't have... would be able to get through this film and would enjoy it for what it is. But this is the sort of stuff that crosses a movie off the list for many people. So just bear that in mind. I wouldn't be arguing either. If it's not your sort of thing, that's okay.
And it's also a movie that's very good at taking shots at other movies and itself and comic books and all those kind of things. Really tears them down and fills them up at the same time.
One of the classic things that Deadpool does, both in his comics and in this film, is he breaks the fourth wall, which basically means he does a lot of talking to the audience. You're in a film. It's very aware of itself, and so it's very, very funny, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff to be cautious about.
So it sounds like you quite liked the movie. And so the longer you're going along watching it, what's the attraction of Deadpool, which must be one of the uncatchiest names of a superhero ever? What's the attraction of Deadpool as a superhero? We mentioned at the start he's like the ultimate anti-hero. So where does he sit in the entire universe of superheroes? He's an X-Men, isn't he? Or might be an X-Men?
That's the thing. You see, he basically undercuts this saccharine sweet Marvel superhero that we've been sold. And look, that's fun because, it's good to watch an Iron Man or a Captain America, and the Avengers can be cool. But when you look at them in real life, you just go, who gets on like that? Who can think that way? Who wanders around pondering these big topics and taking the world on their shoulders?
Well, aren't you, at the end of the day, a vigilante? Iron Man or Captain America, or insert any other superhero there.
And Deadpool basically goes, I'm a vigilante.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
Straight
I'm just
up.
going to go do this if you don't mind. There's some great interaction between him and the whole X-Men background. You know, he turns up the X-Men mansion and says, you know, it's decidedly empty. Like it was because we couldn't afford in this film to put any more characters in. You know, and it's true. It's very funny like that. So there's a lot of this.
So
Like
what
I
kind
said,
of superhero is this guy?
Well, he's not a bad guy.
He's
even
not?
though
He sort of sounds like he is.
and he's presented as a bad guy, but they've done one of the Simpsons twists. You know, when the Simpsons came out, a lot of parents got really kind of worried. They went, "Oh my goodness me!" You know, there's Bart saying, "Eat my shorts" every couple of seconds. I don't
That's
want
the worst.
I don't want my kids, you know, doing that.
Eating their shorts or
That's
telling
just
other people to.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah, I know.
unsanitary. And yet the truth is that the Simpsons undergirded a whole lot of traditional family values. There's mum and dad who went through a lot of marriage stresses, but Homer and Marge were never going to break up. You know, they're always going to be there for the kids. Even the wisdom, the crazy wisdom that comes out of Homer's life makes a certain sort of sense in the end. And Deadpool's like that. He's not, you know, overweight and sitting on a couch somewhere and eating pork rinds. He's basically still doing heroic things.
But
He's
he
still
is a bad guy, though, Mark, isn't he? Like, before he
does.
turns into Deadpool, isn't he a mercenary? He's a hired gun for money. Isn't he a thug that goes around trying to debt collect?
Yeah.
And then when he becomes
And at
Deadpool
the
and gets
same
his
time-
superpowers, isn't he out for revenge? Doesn't he do all kinds of bad things? Like, how can you say he's not a bad guy?
Because it's like the actions that in some contexts can be described as bad, also in different contexts can actually turn out to be quite good.
But in
He is
his context, though, isn't he still thinking he's doing the wrong thing?
I don't think so. I think actually that Deadpool...
Really?
You know, yeah, underneath the surface, I think he's the sort of guy who's determined that justice has got to be done. I mean, isn't that Captain America?
Is it justice for himself or justice for everybody else?
Yeah, I feel like he's got other people in mind too. Like he looks at some of these villains and says, "These guys can't keep going on. Sure, I'm going to start with all the terrible things you've done to me, but you know, in the end, you can't walk the streets."
Wow.
I don't know. Deadpool. I mean, you can see we've got a bit of a back and forth about this.
Well, it sounds like there's just a lot to discuss and think through as you approach Deadpool. And as you remind us, it is a cautionary tale, so we're cautioning you about this tale. It's rated MA 15+, for strong violence and a sex scene. The humour is very risque, as you've told us. Deadpool is an anti-hero of the first order, so be very, very careful if you're impressionable or thinking of taking someone impressionable along. Who's my impressionable friend that I can take to see Deadpool?
Unless you want to mess them up for life.
The Big Picture is a Bible Society Australia production and part of Hope 1032's family of podcasts and vodcasts.